I need to start over for a second. I don't know which camera I'm looking at. All right.
What's up, everyone? I'm YB Hayton, and welcome to Infocus. Infocus is a show where I share my favorite content creators with you, and it gives you a good idea into why they do what they do, what they enjoy about it, and where you can get to know them even better if you're already familiar. Today, we're joined by my friend Kneeblack, who I met over on Twitch. Knee creates content for so many different platforms, from Instagram to TikTok to YouTube and Twitch, so you can find him wherever you go. And I'm really excited to get into it. So let's go and hang out with my friend Kneeblack.
So, Nee, thank you again for doing this with me. So happy to have you here today. Let me
Absolutely.
ask you, I guess this is the first question that I would like to ask to a lot of people, is to understand, like, why you do what you do. Why is it content creation? So, I guess, can you touch on that at all?
Yeah. So one of the things, like I'll start with like the first thing, and then just kind of like hopefully snowball into the others. But one of the biggest things that like I look forward to in the future is hopefully having kids. Fingers crossed. And one of the things about content creation for me is that like I don't know. I'm kind of like I'm a very weird like person when it comes to preparing. And sometimes I have this thought, I'm like, what happens if like I have kids, but then like something happens to me or like, like or anything like that. And I had this thought where like if something happened to me where my kids couldn't grow up with their dad, and like hopefully they would still have like a good father figure, but like what could I leave them behind that would show them still a lot of things and a lot of evidence of like who their dad was. And so content creation was one of the best things because it was like these little time capsules of like my life and like the things that I was doing like at the time and whatnot. And it kind of became this thing where like it went back and forth where I was like, man, I hope it's good. Like I just want it to be good. I want it to be like super great because I'm still like a filmmaker and a creative at heart. So everything, has to kind of be like perfect. But then it started to get to the point where I was like, well, if I'm showing them like, I wasn't always great or like I was doing things with like the bare minimum or I was, all these other things, like what would that teach them? And that would teach them a lot of things if they went down a creative path or just in general. And so I got into content creation for that reason. And then also like, just because I don't know, I just like to create. And I've always like, I feel like there's a lot more of me out there where it's like, maybe I should put this out. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't really think that this looks good. I'm gonna put it out anyway, and just a lot of like self doubt moments, like in life and whatnot. And so content creation for me has kind of been this I don't know how to really explain it. It's like very hard to explain, but it's this very interesting journey. And I think that like of course I still do it for myself. Like I love creating, but like I have so many avenues of creation that it's like there's no way that I could do all these things just for myself. And so content creation is more like a dedication for like other people and like just having it as a sense of like these are the things that I do and this is a little bit more about my personal life and letting people who view my work get a little bit of insight about who I am. And then also it's just like really nice to kind of like be able to self-express and whatnot. But yeah, it's mostly as a time capsule. And even if I'm alive, like if I'm alive, I can still I'm like this is what your dad was doing when he was in his 20s. Like look at your dad, look how cool he was. And so I think it's really I think it'd be really funny. And then of course if they called me lame, they're like, that's so lame, dad. Why would you record yourself like that? I'm like, dang, I did this for y'all, and this is the thanks that I get. But I mean, kids will be kids, so I'm kind of ready for it. Yeah, that's pretty much the reason I got in.
Honestly, that's like a really great reason to get into something like content creation, is to do it for like posterity, so that people can see it later in life, and even just looking back, having that glimpse of like who you were in that moment. So I guess the next question that I have for you is, keeping those things in mind and why you're currently creating content, do you do you see a lot of yourself in your content, or is there a character that you try to build yourself up as in your content? Because there is a split in content creation where some people play a character and some
Yeah.
people are very genuine in putting themselves out there on the internet.
I think it's like it depends on the content that I'm making. And it definitely depends on like the stage of life that I'm at. And so like if I know that like maybe I don't know, I'm kind of sipping on that depresso espresso a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know that like there's content that demands a more happy persona and there's content that demands a more joyous persona and whatnot. And it's like It's kind of like some I feel like it's acting in a sense where, like
Sure.
I got signed for this movie. I went for an audition. They said, "Hey, you got the job. Like you're going to be doing this." And now it's like, "Okay, cool. I have to play this role." Like even though this is what my life looks like right now, like I'm getting, quote unquote paid to play this role, and so I'm going to play it, for, this little short film. But most of the time, like everything that all the content that I make is just, very authentically me. It's, who I am. It's like, where I am currently in life and stuff like that, or just who I am in general. But yeah, sometimes it's like, okay, I need to play a persona. And of course, like I tell people, like even outside of my content, like where I am in life, so they know, like, hey, this is like how I'm feeling, this is what's going on. But this is the content that I'm making, and I'm making this for a specific reason, not to like deter people from thinking that, like, that I'm not going through things, or whatnot. Like I'm just putting this out because there was a specific mission, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm being fake. But yeah, so there's definitely moments where like I like to play a character, and I think I'm like growing into that even more, especially like with wanting to voice act and stuff. I think it's important to embody personas and whatnot. And so yeah, that's a good question. I like that. Oh my gosh.
It's something that I think about a lot. Having met people from across Twitch now in person, it's always a fantastic experience, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. But one of the things that we always say to each other is, "You're just like you are online. This is awesome. It's amazing." And for those that are just like they are online, but it's a persona. There have been times where when hanging out in real life, those walls come down where you
Yeah.
do see the person behind the character. And it's one of those things that it brings me closer to that creator, getting to know them on a personal level, but also I think just for understanding why they build their characters up to the way that they are. I mean, at the end of the day, content creation is a form of entertainment, and I think that
Yeah.
it's a really great one because it gives a lot of us an outlet to express themselves creatively. And in one of the things, like when you start to get creative, we end up encountering roadblocks or things that would keep us from doing the things that we want to do. So, are there any roadblocks, or is there anything that you've had to overcome during your journey as a content creator?
I will always say that my biggest roadblock is always myself. There because and it's kind of funny. Other roadblocks have come and they've gone, and it's like whether it could be something that was like financial, it could be haters, it could be anything, and most of the time, like I don't really let these things get to me. I try to just find a way around them. If it's like, oh man, I don't have enough money to buy like this equipment, but I have like X, Y, and Z, so I'm gonna just do that. Or it's like, man, I don't like this person said that like all of my videos were like whack, or like, it's like, I'm just like not a good content creator or something like that. It's like, oh, okay, that's water off the frog's back. Like, anyway, moving on. Like, that doesn't really matter. But it's like when I have those like internal conversations with myself, where it's like I wake up one day super, super excited to make content. And then 5 minutes into it, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm not uploading anything. Or I get to the end, I record the entire thing, and I get to the end, and I'm like, wow, that was so fun. And I'm about to release it. I'm about to upload. I'm like, you know what? This is stupid. I don't think that I should. I'm not uploading this. I'm putting this down. This is getting deleted. And so yeah, I think like my biggest roadblock is getting over, a lot of like rejectional fear, and also just a lot of fear in general, and just kind of like having this, having more positive conversations with myself to like combat imposter syndrome,
Sure.
and just like also just paying attention to what people are saying, because like I love feedback, and sometimes people like, hey, like could you do this instead of this, or like we actually need this change instead of this. And like I used to take it personal, and sometimes I still do, because I'm like, I put so much time and effort, but it's like I have to, in a sense, people don't care about the time and effort. They just want to see the good results. And so, like,
Right.
if they're telling me, hey, do this instead of this next time, like, I should take that as like, oh, they want to see me succeed. Like, they actually have a vision of what something good will look like. And I'm making this for them, like, also making it for myself. But it's like, I'm gonna take these words and I'm gonna use these as motivation to be better rather than just being like, super upset, be like, ah, you don't know good art, like you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, you know what? You have to know something because if you have a vision of like what good is gonna look like, then like, but of course that doesn't always happen. Some people
It's
say
true.
things and I'm like, that's not that's no, we're not doing that. That's not a good suggestion. Like we're gonna move past that. I was gonna say another word, but I'm trying to be nice. So I'm gonna keep it nice. But yeah, like, not every single suggestion is great. But some suggestions that speak to the hearts are the ones that really stick. But yeah, I think my biggest roadblock is myself, and I'm still getting over that. But I'm trying to just push out content regardless of how I feel. Because somebody's gonna resonate with it, and sometimes, like, I'm always my biggest critic. I see all the mistakes as they're happening, whereas other people only see the mistakes as the finals. So
Sure.
they're only seeing like the final results and the mistakes that are in those. But I saw every mistake that I made up until like I uploaded the video. So it's gonna hit a little different, of course, for me because I'm only seeing like everything where everybody else is only seeing like a couple things, and so they're not going to be as critical because they don't know as many mistakes as I do. And so it's I think that's the biggest thing for me right now.
When you're the one putting together all of the content, there's going to be those things that you notice that nobody else will. I mean, it happens every single time you make something to put it out. Do you have a favorite piece of content that you've not put out because you maybe have gotten in your head? And what would that piece of content look like?
Oh my goodness, there are d- dozens archives full of content that I have not released. I could probably put it all on like just favorite in general. I could probably put it all on like at least 500 gigabytes of a hard drive that just have never been released. But one in particular is a recent one that I made, and it was detailing basically like the feeling of being overwhelmed and the things that I do when I'm overwhelmed. And it's an entire video of me actually like cleaning my office. And I'm basically explaining the entirety of the situation of like, this is what I do when I'm overwhelmed. And this is why I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. And these are like so many things. And I don't know, it was so personal. And it was so like, in the moment, I was like, this is so cool. And then as soon as I finished it, I was like, I'm never releasing this to the public. This is ridiculous. Why would I think this is a good idea? But I'm like, I think it's someday. I don't know, maybe someday soon, because I've had it sitting in the back of my mind, like you should release this. Like this needs to get out. Like you cannot keep holding on to this forever. But yeah, there's honestly a lot of content that has just never reached the light of day, and it's very sad to see. But I mean, that's the same for even pictures. Like even if it's not including myself, like I still have a ton of pictures that have never hit the light of day yet. That I'm like going through all of my hard drives and my archives and just like, okay, it's time to get everybody out of here. Let's go. Like our single
Yeah.
file line, we're gonna start posting. So yeah, that's I think that one, the overwhelmed one where I was cleaning my room, is my favorite piece right now.
I can definitely understand how being vulnerable after creating a project, can keep us from putting it out. But is there a side of you that just kind of like just wants to push upload and walk away and then come back and just see how it does later?
Yeah, because I think it has something to do with like just always being like a very like entertaining silly person. And I noticed like I think someone had said something and it wasn't bad. It was just like they were like, man, you're so funny. And I think one day I had posted about being sad, and they're like, well, that's surprising. And I was like, yeah, because I'm always goofy. I was like, no one ever gets to see like other things, but I was like, I need to be more vulnerable. They're like, yeah, you're never vulnerable. Like, why are you? And I was like, I don't know. I just because I guess it's like, if I'm not entertaining people, who will? But I'm like, I get entertained every day, so there's always gonna be somebody. But yeah, I just want to hit upload and just walk away and
Yeah.
like not come back until like a month later and be like, all right, I'm back. Like, hey, how'd you guys like the video?
How'd you like it? Also, I haven't done anything since then. So, uh,
So this video is the introduction of a concept that I had where for 4 days I gave myself a challenge of creating 10 ideas where it was 10 ideas 4 days. And so each of these ideas would have a skit, they would have a concept, they would have like a bare bones of something, or not a skit, but um oh my god, I can't remember the word. I literally said it earlier. But I would sketch out ideas. I would have like a script. That's the word. I would have a
Script, got it.
script, and then I would shoot it, edit it, and then put it out. And I would try to put out at least 10 of the or 1 to 2 ideas per day.
Mhm.
And so the hope was to have at least about like 5. Like I wanted to put out all of them. That was the ultimate goal. But I said if I at least put out 1 idea per day, I would be happy. Honestly, to put out any ideas would just be a miracle because I'm coming from like not putting out anything for a while. So yeah, I did that. Worked under a lot of pressure. Still had projects that I needed to do, and also was working on other stuff. And I put out like I think 4. How many videos are up on my YouTube right now? Currently out of all of those, yeah. So there's like about 4 or 5. I think one I just haven't uploaded yet. But I did get to upload 5 videos or 4. I got the 4, and so I'm happy. I'm
All
very
right.
happy with that. But yeah, so this is
Hell
this is
yeah.
the intro. This is my current cassette player. The ClearTech cassette player from Urban Outfitters.
That's
3
pretty
buttons,
sick.
a volume wheel, AM, FM radio, and AA battery powered. This cassette player has proved to be interesting. This is my old cassette player. The Jensen player I picked up one day from Target randomly when I was just simply looking for my first cassette player. Same exterior specs, and yet it feels as though the interior specs are very different. Truth be told, it's not the biggest surprise, honestly. Between the two, though, the Jensen has proved to be better in a lot of ways for me. The Urban player had a few issues off the bat that left a bit to be desired. For starters, static. Where I had no static with the Jensen, there was a bit of static with the Urban Outfitter cassette player. Anytime that I would put in my headphones and start listening, and that really would go for any headphones, I would just start to get a little bit of static, which was very odd. I'm no audio tech by any means, but I could also notice a difference in sound quality. The Jensen felt more clear and even had a bit more of a solid bass to it, where the Urban sounded almost like the complete opposite. So, why am I not using the Jensen? It broke. And what's even worse is that Target stopped selling them literally as soon as it broke, and so I couldn't even go back to get one if I tried. But luckily Amazon still sells one, so there is hope. So with that, I began to look for another player, and that is when I came up on the Urban Outfitter cassette player. Now with us being brought up to speed, I can get into the main reason for this video. I am on the hunt for a good cassette player, and it's really for 2 reasons. Yes, that I was have man. cassette That's so tapes. weird to see it back A lot because of I'm
tapes,
like,
actually.
dang,
And the collection continues
I made
to
stuff
grow
for that.
pretty much every
That's so
single
wild.
week, which
That's
This is
crazy.
really cool.
Thank you.
I love finding new, just old and new artists, you know, whether it's someone recently who's released a cassette tape or just older artists who I've never heard of or just different cultures.
I'm looking for cassette tapes that like I would have either had or seen or had in the
It
house.
also gives me a great opportunity to go into thrift shops and just explore.
That's funny.
around.
Oh yeah, I was
Really
like, that's
We
funny
had
you
that
mentioned
one.
Only known
Really?
existed, but never
Yeah, the
really
Faith Hill one we
delved
had.
into it. Like my tapes, I
Amy
also
Grant
have a good
had
collection
that
of cassette
one.
players at my disposal to not only experiment with the sound, but to also make mixtapes. Because
Didn't have that one.
Mixtapes.
Tony
I think it'd
Braxton
just be
and Def
cool to
Leppard
turn
had
playlists
those.
Physical.
Oh,
Like,
man,
that would
I
be
love
so
Tony
cool, like I
Braxton
just
so
said.
much.
Right?
Who doesn't love mixtapes? And I just imagine like putting together and compiling this whole thing for my friends, and then being like,
Oh,
I made you
Mariah.
this thing with my little Walkman or whatever. And you know they get to keep it. It's a physical little piece of evidence that like, you know, I rocks with you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I know the audio qualities that I'm searching for, and because of that, I'm hoping to gain more experience and knowledge of sounds with this journey. I will definitely be making update videos along the way, and you know, I'll be talking about each piece and each cassette player that I come upon that I'm like, this is worth reviewing. And I feel like this series inside of the On the Hunt series will turn into a series in and of itself. But yeah, I appreciate you if you've made it this far. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this, and I hope that you have an amazing day. And yeah, deuces.
Yo, that is really good. I
Thank you.
loved this whole video.
Thank
It's
you.
such a really cool concept. If I was to ask, like, what was it that motivated you to make that video? What would it be?
I wanted a Walkman so bad. Like I want a Walkman. Like it's becoming like a need. Because I just love cassettes, and I also I'm trying to be more analog with my life. So I'm like collecting more vinyls, I'm collecting more magazines, I'm collecting more physical things. Because I do so much digital. I'm like, I need something tangible that I can like feel. So
Mm-hmm.
like having, and I even have like my cassettes like next to me, but like as it's kind of like my, I guess like an introduction to like an homage to just to analog, because
Mm-hmm.
I mean like people know that I shoot film, and that's, I've been doing that, but I wanted to make this so that I could see like where I started, like when I started the journey of like finding other cassette players, but like kind of just putting out there like, oh hey, like I want to go back to that analog, almost like an analog dream, because there's so many things that I can't really experience. Like I can't really experience the times of the 70s, the 80s, the arcades in the 80s, and having a Walkman and hanging out with my friends, like that would have been so cool. Now it's like, hey, it's like, I'm going to show you this link from Spotify. Like, that's cool. Don't get me wrong. But like walking up to someone and be like, I made you this playlist and I hope that you like it. It could have been
It went
trash.
from so I grew up with playlists and stuff. It went from playlists to mixtapes to mix CDs, and it was, regardless, it was always special, right? When you would get
Yeah.
something like that. So there was this study that came out on Instagram, and how it is formulated to just make people angry. And that way it drives engagement. And that's the way a lot of these social media sites, run.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is pretty damning of at least my generation is that everybody had to have this persona of everything's gotta be great all the time. And if it's not, then you're failing in content creation, you're failing in a lot of different areas with putting things out on the internet. Is that something that, I guess, when you start to create your own projects, is that on your mind at all? Like, hey, this needs to be happy, it needs to be upbeat, or is it something that you just kind of deal with, and then once you've gotten to the finish line, you look back and you're like, this is either got that vibe and feel, or this might be a little bit of that depresso espresso we were talking about, but like, does that cross your mind, like as you're making it or at the end of it? Everybody has their own process. If it was going to be me, I would say that it's always something that I look at in retrospect.
I do think about that, like, and it's so interesting that you mentioned like how social media is like the algorithms are made to make people upset, because like there's been times I was actually just talking with Space about this, and I was like, one of the things that, and this might be a controversial take, I don't even care anymore. One of the worst things that ever got introduced to the anime community was opinions. And I say this because every single time there is a conversation about random, like for instance, I saw one conversation and it was like, what did it say? Oh, if the Joker was in the My Hero Academia world, like what would happen, or something like that. And I'm like, why would you put him there? Like, what
Right.
what good does he need? Why does he need to be there? Or it'll be like Goku versus Luffy, or Naruto versus like Ichigo, and I'm like, these are four different universes. Why
Right.
are we putting these two together? Like, there's no, like, you can't power scale if they're not in the same universe. Like, I don't get it. But things like that would get to me, and I'm like, man, like, and so I think it was like one or two times I almost engaged, and then every single time I see them now, I just block them. I'm like, I refuse to engage in this. The algorithm is not gonna get me. It got other people. It's not gonna get me. I'm a better man. I am a
Not
better man
today.
now.
Not
No,
today.
but I think about that. I'm like, what do I want my content to like produce out of people? And like, if it's gonna be sad, if it's gonna, if it's gonna be more for me pulling from a dark space, like, how do I want people to feel?
Right.
Like, and is there gonna, if there's no happy ending, how do I want people to engage with this? And when it's content like that, because I want to make an effort to not have everything. It's funny. It's like a duality. The yin of it is that I want to always make content that produces like some type of joy or happiness, or just good peace. But the yang of it is that I always want to produce authentic and very good content. And if that's content that's sad, if that's content that's depressing or does not have a happy ending, it should still be put out. And I want people to kind of like be more real with themselves. because I want to be more real with myself. And I think like right now, we're either pushed to be overly happy and get rid of all the other negative stuff and like have this very toxic mentality of like happiness over everything, or we're pushed to be very angry and always engage with things that kind of like fuel our fuel that. And so it's like, yeah, I definitely want to produce content that like is still sad and still resonates with people, to be like, you know what, today like this made me sad, but it made me reevaluate things. And like I might still be sad afterwards, but like I'm glad that I'm facing it and being like very true to it and whatnot. Because sometimes I don't face feelings that I feel a certain way. I'm like, nah, I don't feel, it's like, it's whatever, like I'm fine. But no, like when I see certain people's content about like certain things that they're navigating through, I'm like, you know what, that made me feel something. That made me feel a lot of things. And so I think it's like, and I think it's healthy. I think engaging with more emotions and whatnot, and producing because producing content that makes people happy, it's not easy, but it's simple.
Right.
You can just like, oh, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna make breakfast toast and I'm gonna show you guys how to make a margarita, but it's gonna be a special one. I'm like, this makes me happy. Yes, I want to see this. But like when it's like, this is something that I'm going through, this is how I'm navigating with it, and it's not, I'm gonna say it, it's not corny. That's good. Because there's a lot of corny things where I'm like, why did you do that? Why did you set up the camera to do that? But when you like really put thought into it, like it's going to hit different. You're going to do an entirely different process with the content creation, and people are going to resonate with that. I think that people are done resonating with corny TikToks, and I'm glad. I don't want any more sad, corny TikToks. I know it's a controversial take, but I think that people need to be real. We don't need it anymore. We need to start being like a lot more authentic with the process of content creation, because it's precious.
If money wasn't an issue, what would you be making?
Oh man, I would be making videos with Selena Gomez, 100%. You couldn't stop me. Absolutely not. I would just be.
Are you shooting your
I
shot
say
right
that. I feel
Are you
that
shooting your shot?
Yeah, it's me shooting my shot.
Heard it here
I
first.
love you.
Selena, if you're watching, shot taken. Just saying.
I need you.
The ball's in your
not even
court.
a want. It really is. I've shot. It's up. I'm just saying it now. But I think, I don't know, if money wasn't an issue. That's a good question, because I always think like, what content would I be making if money wasn't an issue?
Yeah.
And I always think, what other equipment could I get with more money? And the second that you ask that, I don't even know if there's any content that I would be making if money wasn't an issue, because I'm at the point now where I'm like making everything with everything that I have. And so like, I don't know, I guess like, if anything, it would just be like, I would just be making like a lot more like keyboard or gear videos, and like just doing things with that. I don't know. Cause like, I guess I would just be getting new lenses or new equipment to like do other things. But after watching so many YouTube videos of like people showing me like, oh, this is how you do, this is like a one lighting setup, or all these other things. Yeah, I think it would just be like, probably be a lot more unboxings. I would just be buying stuff just to buy it. I would just be buying everything. Art books, pencils, sharpeners, new switches. I'd be buying stuff from Wish. I'd be like, let's see if this is a scam. Like, just silly stuff. But I don't know. I think, yeah, it would just be a lot more inventory. I don't think that anything would change, so to speak, to like the content that I'm making. I think it would more so just be inventory. And I guess like with more finances, you have more time.
Nee, thank you again so much for being here tonight. I do appreciate you, and thank you for being so cool, part of my community, and somebody that I absolutely love watching. I know you've been playing a lot of really good really cool games. I remember watching your Sekiro playthrough, and that was a lot of fun. Recently saw you building some keyboards, which has been a great time to do. And I'm learning a lot in watching you and Dabble build these keyboards, because it's something that I don't know anything about. So now I have a preference on what I want them to sound like, and mine currently doesn't sound like that. So, but there's a lot of things that I'm learning, and definitely, if you guys haven't, please go and follow Nee. Nee, is there anything you want to put out? Anything you have to say? The floor is yours in regards to your stream. Go ahead and sell yourself. We're doing that.
Yeah.
Thing. Sell yourself right now.
Oh,
right now.
Okay.
Dude, name everything you're doing. I'm just kidding.
So what I'm doing now. So, I mean, first things first, I gotta thank you so much, YB, for this opportunity. It's absolutely amazing. This was so much fun. It's been a while since I've been interviewed. And I'm like, oh man, I'm kind of nervous. I haven't been interviewed in so long. I hope I still have my etiquette. Like my PR team is like looking at me right now. They're like, hey, you better behave. And I'm like, okay, I got you. Like we're good. But thank you so much. This was absolutely great. Yeah, second thing, I definitely got to get a shout out to all of my friends and whatnot. All the people that have supported me throughout this journey and stuff like that. Definitely, like Bianca, Aloe, Bond, Queen, Dabble, Space, yeah, all these people. There's so many that it would just be insane. But as a keyboardist, I have to shout out Dabble because Dabble put me on this journey, and I thank him every day for that. And Brofar would kill me if I didn't say anything about him. So Brofar, I love you. And Spencer, I love you as well. And I miss you. Please
Come
DM
back
me one
soon.
day. Come back soon, please, me. But yeah, my stream, so many things are happening. I guess like as far as like selling, see, I can do this now because I'm confident. It was different. It was different a couple months ago, but now I'm about to tell y'all something. Streams are cool. I love my peoples. I love my peeps. My streams, like I don't have to worry about being the greatest streamer of all time. I got people who I value, people who are amazing. I value everybody who comes into my stream and respects not only me but the people who are also there. My community's great. The people that I'm, like building relationships are great. I love all these people. They're wonderful, phenomenal people who I genuinely value. My whole goal with Twitch is connections, but I also want to funnel. And so if people like TikTok, I want them to see me on TikTok, find community there. If they like YouTube, I want them to find me on YouTube. If they like Patreon, I want them to find me there. I want to showcase my art. I want to showcase my work. I want to create galleries. I want to advertise other things. So yeah, all these things are coming. I am working very hard that all these things will happen. I know that was a long spiel, but my streams are great because of that, because of the community and the connections that I will be making. So
I agree with you. Your streams are great because of that, and it is a lot of fun. Every time I'm there and I'm interacting with you or with the people in chat, it's a great time, and there is a lot of fun to be had there. So again, thank you so much for doing this today. I appreciate you, and yeah, we'll see you over on Twitch.
Nee, thank you again so much for coming and being a part of this Infocus with me. I had an absolutely great time, and it was just a lot of fun getting to hear your takes and thoughts about streaming, the games you're playing, and the content that you make. So thank you again so much for doing this with me and for being a part of this journey as well. Guys, go check out Nee. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.